sounding the alarm over public safety in Saskatchewan communities. What's fueling crime and violence, and calls for help. Caught on camera, what's driving up demand for dash cameras? And the Huskies hungry for victory in the Vanier Cup.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. The Meadow Lake Tribal Council is issuing an urgent plea to both the provincial and federal governments, saying policing in northern Saskatchewan is broken and putting lives at risk. Leaders say long RCMP response times and increasing gang activity have created what they call a chaotic situation. Carla Shinkrick has the story.
The drug epidemic is unprecedented. Everything is uncontrolled. It's like the Wild West.
Roy Cheecham is a tribal councillor with the Clearwater River Dene First Nation. He says the situation is critical with safety in question.
When you call for police assistance, they're understaffed. They don't have time.
Members of the Meadow Lake Tribal Council explained at a news conference Wednesday the crisis facing their communities with the lack of law enforcement.
Why is it in northern Saskatchewan and First Nations people, we have 2,000 people and there's not a police force there?
The communities pay for their own security to try to keep people safe, over $1 million a year in some cases, with RCMP detachments in neighboring areas. Response time for RCMP to get to some of the more remote areas is over an hour, according to Chief Jeremy Norman.
Best case scenario, you're getting robbed. You're going to be waiting an hour and 15 minutes. That's if the call was answered and they jump in the vehicle right now.
RCMP told CTV News this in an email. A number of factors influence response times, such as geographical challenges with vast size of many of the detachment areas, road and weather conditions, call severity, volume, and level of urgency of other calls at the time. Some here explain that unlawful residents are often evicted from the First Nation, but it doesn't fix the situation.
It's not one issue. It's a combination of issues. But today we're here for safety.
The Provincial Marshal Service is one of the resources this group would like to see utilized more in their communities.
This is a cry out to the governments. Look at your people of Canada need help, and that's what we're here to ask for. We're here to ask the governments to step up now.
The province told CTV News that they recognize the concerns being raised, and they're committed to working with leadership and the RCMP across the province and advancing First Nations policing. Carla Shinkrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The fate of a massage therapist accused of sexual assault is now in the hands of a jury. 69-year-old Kenneth Braun is facing 6 charges of sexual assault. The evidence presented during his trial has been under a publication ban so as not to interfere with a future court date. This morning, a judge spent more than 3 hours giving careful instructions and considerations for the 12-person jury. They are now deliberating. A Saskatoon judge has ruled there are too many unanswered questions around the death of a Saskatoon man almost 3 years ago to convict 2 people of murder. In August of 2022, James Swift and a woman were found injured near Penner Road and Rural Road 3050 just outside of Saskatoon. Ashton Ritzend and Colton Lishka were charged with second-degree murder in Swift's death and attempted murder in the stabbing of the woman. During trial earlier this year, court heard the violence erupted when there was a fight over cocaine. In a written decision released earlier this month, the judge said there were too many holes in the story because of alcohol and drugs, and it wasn't proven beyond a reasonable doubt who did the stabbing that led to Swift's death. The judge instead ruling the 2 were guilty of manslaughter in Swift's death and aggravated assault for the attack on the woman. A third man, Anthony Burley, pleaded guilty to being an accessory to manslaughter earlier this year and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. A man charged in the shooting death of a Weyburn woman made an appearance in court today to learn if he will receive bail. More than a dozen friends and family were at the hearing in Weyburn today. Details on the case remain under a publication ban until Fallman's trial. On September 12th, Tanya Myers was in a moving vehicle outside of Weyburn when she was hit by a bullet. On November 1st, Fallman was charged with manslaughter in connection with her death. 2 weeks later, the manslaughter charge was upgraded to second-degree murder. Fallman's bail hearing will continue tomorrow. A boy has died after an ATV with children on it rolled in the Wadena area. RCMP say they were called to the rollover on the Fishing Lake First Nation last night at about 6 o'clock. 4 children were on the ATV when it rolled. One of the passengers, RCMP say, was under the age of 12, was taken to hospital where he died. The other 3 children were not seriously injured. Well, Jeff, I think some people were caught off guard by the snow, but others seem to just embrace it and go with the flow.
Well, what can you do except the latter, right? But I can understand both reactions because we had anticipated snow. We said there was going to be snow, you know, starting off freezing rain and or at least some light showers, and that's exactly what happened. But maybe a bit more accumulation than at least I had anticipated. But it shoveled up nicely. Thank you to those people that actually did some shoveling today. But we've got this system that's moving out of the area. In behind it, a high-pressure ridge is going to start to build in, and ultimately really quiet conditions for tomorrow and into the weekend. The cold temperatures and more snow is on the way next week. We'll talk about that later.
As Saskatchewan settles into winter road conditions, more drivers are turning to dash cameras. CTV's Laura Woodward on what's driving the demand for the second set of eyes.
A meteor over Saskatoon last week, a near miss between an SUV and a city bus in March, and a van catching fire in a parking lot last December, all recorded on dash cams.
Dash cams have become sort of almost a regular accessory now for cars. You know, it's almost standard that most people get one.
Dash cams can help with security and insurance claims, capturing moments like this crash on the University Bridge last month, which quickly circulated online. Retail analyst Bruce Winter says social media is a driving force behind dash cam sales.
People share all kinds of videos, and those videos might not even be in Canada, but suddenly people are nervous about it. They see the social video, they think, my God, I don't want to, I don't want someone to back into me on the street and then try to extort me, or I don't want someone pretending to jump on my hood like I hit them. I need proof. Or the other thing too is road rage.
A report from market research firm Grandview Horizon suggests the dash cam market in Canada is growing by about 9% a year, with revenue expected to hit $258 million by 2030.
We have seen a big demand for this.
Best Buy is also noticing the trend, with more customers looking for dash cams, especially models with parking mode, which keeps the camera rolling even when the car isn't.
It records and then sends you an alert if there was a bump in your car, if there was any hit and run is another case where customers do choose that option.
And with winter just getting started, he expects the demand to keep climbing. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's NDP is calling for the province to scrap an increase to tire recycling fees. The Tire Stewardship of Saskatchewan is set to raise its tire recycling fees. The fees help the independent, not-for-profit organization pay for scrap tire recycling. The money does not go to the province, but the NDP wants the provincial government to step in and scrap the increase, linking the incoming jump to changes in who processes scrap tires in the province.
And now we see the Sask party turning around, as they always do, and downloading the costs of their own mismanagement onto drivers and taxpayers in Saskatchewan.
For most vehicles, the previous fees were either $5 or $14 per tire, with higher fees for heavier-duty industrial tires. That means a 30% increase would equal about an extra $50 per tire for most consumers. Premier Scott Moe is back from Washington, D.C., where he met with U.S. officials to talk tariffs, trade, and protecting Saskatchewan jobs. Moe says $40 billion in imports and exports cross the border every year, mentioning how tariff-free trade is critical, given that the U.S. is their largest trading partner. He mentions that Saskatchewan products like oil, potash, and canola help lower costs for Americans.
Specifically, grocery prices in the U.S. are increasing, and Saskatchewan has a role to play in that. And so I view it as a positive from our province's perspective, because it would lend credence to the reason to not put tariffs on some of the products that we're sending to the United States of America.
The Premier says it's important to keep the trade channels open to protect jobs and support both economies. Potash giant Nutrien has selected a site in the U.S. for a new export terminal. The company confirmed to CTV it is pursuing the development of a new export terminal in Longview, Washington, to meet what Nutrien says is a rising demand for Saskatchewan-made potash. Earlier this year, Nutrien said it was also considering Canadian locations. Nutrien is the world's largest fertilizer producer. A final investment decision on the potential terminal site is expected in 2027. City Council is crunching the numbers in Prince Albert this week. Today, they began budget deliberations. Jasmine Pelche on the discussions so far.
On Wednesday morning, the City of Prince Albert Budget Committee began deliberations on the 2026 City General Fund budget. The initial proposal shows a $7 million increase in revenue from the 2025 budget, with a $6 million increase in expenses. Several councillors voiced concerns from residents about the proposed budget's impact on property tax, as it includes $4.4 million in additional funding from taxation.
It's to find that base budget so that we're not hurting the taxpayers with too many increases all the time and these huge jumps. We want to be kind of a flat moving forward.
The committee debated which projects must be completed this year and which ones could be completed on a looser timeline. The city manager says one significant expense, the new Lake Country Co-op Leisure Center, has not had an impact when it comes to evaluating property tax. Annual financing payments on the center are not funded by taxation, but through the Recreation Reserve. The funding plan relies on fundraising, grants, loans, and projected tax revenue from new businesses in the developing Yard District. On day one of budget discussions, the Budget Committee approved $4 million in financing payments to 3 separate loans on the Leisure Center. Around $60 million remains to be paid on the facility, with the final loan payment due in 2058. By Wednesday afternoon, the committee had adjusted the proposed budget to save $125,000 in taxation and $100,000 in reserve funds. The budget is scheduled for further discussion Thursday and Friday. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
As football season wraps up, there is still one big game left for Saskatchewan football fans. The U of S Huskies will be battling Montreal for the Vanier Cup this weekend. Hallie Mandrick has those details.
The last time the University of Saskatchewan Huskies football team hoisted the Vanier Cup above their heads, current head coach Scott Flory was on the team.
I just remember the focused team. I remember, a team that was a little bit on a mission, and I see a lot of the similarities in this group than to the group that we had then. There's a core group of fifth-year guys that we had back then that I think we see now as well that are playing with an edge and that are leading that locker room.
Now, the Huskies are preparing to fight for the Cup once again, and with a unique similarity to the Grey Cup, as once again it will be Saskatchewan against Montreal, this time for a national championship in Regina.
They're a great team. They deserve to be in this position, and I think just like we've seen in so many weeks, they just have a lot of great athletes, and they're very well coached. So I think for us, just playing our game and just sticking to the game plan on Saturday.
While the Huskies haven't won the Vanier since 1998, the team has played in that final game 6 times since then. Most recently in 2022, and many of those on the Huskies starting lineup remember the feeling of coming so close to the Cup in their earlier years on the team.
I learned it's an honor to be there. It's a great accomplishment just to even just scratch the surface of getting there. So just super proud that we were able to execute all season long and just get to this point. Really, we know the job's not quite finished, so we're still locked in for that.
As their final game draws near, many fifth-year players are reflecting on the legacy they hope their season will leave on the Huskies organization.
Having the experience I've been able to accumulate, I think it's just translating that to the young guys that you got to appreciate how much work you put in, the 365 that you waited to get to this moment, and really embrace that all that work is actually paying off, that you've done all those things to get you here.
Kickoff for the Vanier Cup will take place at 1 p.m. at Mosaic Stadium in Regina on Saturday. Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
And a reminder, nominations are open for the Saskatoon Citizen of the Year Award, which is presented by CTV. The award is given each year to an individual who exemplifies excellence in community service and is making a difference. To find out how to nominate that special someone, guides are available here at CTV Saskatoon, or you can head to our website. The deadline to submit your nomination is Friday, December 5th, and we will announce this year's recipient on December 31st. Still to come, releasing the Epstein files. Will the U.S. president proceed quickly to release them? And new developments in the case against a once Canadian Olympic athlete on the FBI's most wanted list. You're watching CTV News Live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us. A major update today from the RCMP, the FBI, and the Department of Justice. They are on the hunt for Ryan Wedding, a one-time Canadian Olympic snowboarder, now on the FBI's most wanted list. He is described as dangerous, deadly, and responsible for a major narcotics trafficking and terror program. Michael Couture on the new charges, the hunt for the fugitive who allegedly ordered the murder of a witness, and the big reward.
The reward for Wedding's arrest has been upped to $15 million American, a significant amount for someone that law enforcement says is a major drug kingpin.
Ryan Wedding is a modern-day iteration of Pablo Escobar.
Law enforcement in Canada and the U.S. are calling the former Canadian Olympic snowboarder the leader of a transnational criminal enterprise. In addition to reportedly shipping truckloads of cocaine across North America, the FBI and U.S. Justice Department are now charging Ryan Wedding with 2 additional counts of witness tampering, intimidation, and money laundering.
Wedding is also accused of murdering a federal witness after he was indicted in 2024.
U.S. officials allege Wedding used semi-trucks to import 60 tons of cocaine annually into the U.S. That amount of drugs is the same weight as 40 standard cars.
Ryan Wedding is extremely dangerous. He's extremely violent, and he's extremely wealthy. He's being protected by the Sinaloa cartel, along with others in the country of Mexico.
American law enforcement has been working with the RCMP because of his links to Canada and his alleged connection to 4 murders in Ontario. It's believed his vast network includes a former Mexican law enforcement officer and money launderers from Italy and the UK.
Fugitive Ryan Wedding remains one of the top threats to Canadian public safety, and as per the previous indictment, continues to run an over $1 billion a year criminal enterprise.
While increasing the reward for his arrest to $15 million, U.S. law enforcement is asking for the public's help to find Wedding.
Please understand that he might change his hair color, his appearance, and do anything to avoid capture, but someone like Ryan Wedding is going to stick out in Mexico.
With today's indictment, U.S. law enforcement says approximately 36 people have been indicted, and they warn Ryan Wedding that his days are numbered. Michael Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
It's now up to the U.S. president to sign the bill that would force the Justice Department to release all its records on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. With more on when the files will be released, here is Joy Malbin in Washington.
The Senate has passed the bill under unanimous consent.
For these survivors, this was a long time coming, rejoicing after Congress voted overwhelmingly to force the Justice Department to release government files on Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
One of the best days of my life, to feel seen, validated, and heard for the first time.
It's been 5 administrations, almost 30 years of fighting this, and it's just, this is amazing.
It's estimated more than 1,000 girls were abused in Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking ring. The bill to release the records expected to be signed into law by the president, who for weeks resisted and has the power to do it now, but bristled when asked why he doesn't.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But
But I guess I turned out to be right.
The bill compels the Justice Department to make public the Epstein records within 30 days. But President Trump demanded new investigations that could delay or stop their release, singling out Democrats like former President Bill Clinton and former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers when pressed on a timeline.
Information that has come for there's information, that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads.
Many of the survivors just want the truth to finally come out, asking the president for the complete release of all the Epstein-related files without delay or redactions. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Washington.
To Gaza now, where Israel carried out strikes targeting militants it says attacked its forces. Hospitals in Gaza say at least 21 Palestinians were killed in the strikes, which hit areas on both sides of the yellow line that split the enclave in two under last month's ceasefire. Israel says militants had fired on its forces earlier in the day with no casualties. Hamas and Israel have accused each other of violating the terms of the truce on matters like the return of hostage remains and the flow of aid into Gaza. Meanwhile, in southern Lebanon, Israeli forces carried out a strike on a Palestinian refugee camp and 13 people were killed, according to local officials. Israel says it was striking Hamas militants operating in a training compound. The Palestinian group calls the claim a fabrication. Elsewhere, Israel said it carried out strikes on what it called Hezbollah infrastructure. Israel has accused the Iran-backed group of trying to rearm despite their ceasefire deal. Hezbollah says it's followed the terms of the deal. All right, Jeff, a lot of that snow is gone, but there's still more work to do, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Look, we didn't expect it to dissipate because we received here in Saskatoon around 5 centimeters of snow, and in other places got a little more, a little less. But ultimately, we didn't expect this snow to go away with one day of slightly warmer than zero temperatures. So we do have above seasonal temperatures sticking around for the weekend. A lot of the snow is going to go, but more snow is on the way. Ha-ha! All right, let's take a look at our numbers right now. Right now, it is -4 degrees in Saskatoon, -3 in Prince Albert, -5 in the Battlefords. And as you can see, not particularly windy in any of these three locations. Saskatoon's almanac will a daytime high of 0 degrees. The overnight low is -1. Ooh, what a range, but still above seasonal, particularly in the overnight. 20 degrees, the record warm temperature from 1936 for a second day in a row. The cold temperature record is from 1978. Yesterday, it was -28. Today, -30. The sun came up at 8:34, and it went down at 5:10.
Coming up, Locker Cleanout Day. What's next for the Riders as they look to next season?
Celebrating those homegrown nights. Thursday on Your Morning, the Hunter Brothers kick off the Saskatchewan leg of their tour this weekend, so we are getting you a preview.
All right, welcome back. Taking a look at the glittery city of Saskatoon. Nice shot of the South Saskatchewan, and of course some of the light reflecting off the snow. I know that's great news for the Enchanted Forest to have some snow on the ground. Helps with those displays. We'll just have to wait and see how much of that snow sticks around, but still a nice shot right now. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar shot, and we are keeping our eye on this. A bit of a break tomorrow for the West Coast, but that is going to change, and I'm afraid we're looking at a fairly soggy weekend in that respect. Across the prairies, things are looking quiet. And then as we roll into next week, temperatures are going to drop, and we are going to be seeing more in the way of precipitation. So keep that in mind as we go forward. So right now, just a quick recap, -4 in Saskatoon, -3 in Prince Albert, and -5 in the Battlefords. The hot spot today, Estevan at 6 degrees. Stony Rapids, the cold spot at -17. Into our larger communities, -4 degrees in Lloydminster, -2 in Swift Current, 3 on the plus side in Estevan, 1 in Regina, and 0 in Yorkton. Into into central parts of Saskatchewan. Temperatures ranging from -5 in Battlefords as well as Meadow Lake, and it warms up to 0 degrees. That is in both Watrous and Wynyard. Oh, look at that. Hudson Bay on the plus side at 1 degree. Up north, how does it go? Well, actually pretty reasonable temperatures for northern Saskatchewan this time of year. -8 degrees in Collins Bay, -7 in Key Lake. It warms up to +1 in Buffalo Narrows, -2 in La Ronge, and -1 in Sandy Bay Island Falls. And down south, not much of a temperature range here. Generally speaking, temperatures hovering around the freezing mark. It cools off to -2 in East End, warms up to 2 in Carlisle. Otherwise, 0 or 1 degree for these communities. Now, the futurecast. As you can see, these pressure lines not really close together, so we do not anticipate much in the way of wind in the next 24 hours, and we certainly don't see much in the way of active weather. Maybe a little something showing up in northern Alberta, but for Saskatchewan, it looks pretty much like clear sailing there. Temperatures of -5 in La Ronge, -9 in Stony Rapids and Key Lake on Thursday, -7 for Buffalo Narrows. A bit more sunshine in Kindersley and Rosetown, plus temperatures there of 3 degrees, -3 in Meadow Lake, -2 in Spiritwood. A bit more cloud cover for those two communities. Mainly sunny or sunny skies in the southwest. 8 degrees in Maple Creek, 5 in Leader, 3 in Outlook, and 6 in Swift Current. 6 as well in Moose Jaw, 4 in Regina, 2 in Yorkton, 5 in Estevan. And then temperatures hanging around that -2 degree mark for much of east central Saskatchewan, but 2 degrees on the plus side with sunshine in Watrous. Dropping down to -11 in the Battlefords with some fog patches showing up. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy skies and -2. And then relatively mild conditions yet again, even into Monday where it's -1, but we do anticipate maybe around 10, maybe more in terms of 10 centimeters of snow. So we'll have to wait and see, and cooling off to -8 on Wednesday. -12 for Prince Albert, -2 tomorrow for a daytime high. And then we've got ourselves -1 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, Monday -1. Again, we could see between 5 and 10 centimeters of snow, but then cooling off to -7, getting even colder thereafter. Saskatoon, clearing skies, but some fog patches showing up. -10 overnight, -1 tomorrow for a high. That's still 2 degrees above seasonal. And then up to 3 degrees on Saturday and Sunday, cooling off on Monday. And Monday to Tuesday, yes, again, about 5, maybe 10, maybe 15 centimeters of snow, and a cold trend is getting underway.
Cleveland came to see the Queen. I should think so. She didn't have any hit records.
30 years after the original version of the Beatles anthology series aired, a newly restored version is coming to Disney+. The 9-episode series will air over 3 nights beginning November 26th. The original series had 8 episodes and contained interviews with Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, George Harrison, along with archival interviews with John Lennon. This extra episode will include unreleased footage of the then surviving Beatles from 1995. Classic. Fans can soon own the instruments that once belonged to Canadian music legend Gordon Lightfoot. Items from his estate are going up for auction. The sale includes Lightfoot's personal belongings, stage-worn costumes, and rare memorabilia. Also up for auction, his iconic 1948 Martin D18 guitar, which is considered part of Canadian music heritage. The sale hits the Toronto Gallery on November 26th with online bidding available. With the second Wicked movie set to debut, Hollywood insiders expect it will be flying high at the box office. The book-turned-musical-turned-movie reframes the story of the 2 iconic witches from The Wizard of Oz. Part 2 of the cinematic adaptation is called Wicked for Good. Variety reports it's on track to bring in $150 to $180 million U.S. across North America in its first weekend of release. If it's on the higher end of that estimate, it would mark the biggest movie launch of 2025.
Well, Jeff, speaking of films, we are getting ready for a fantastic film festival.
So why not head to Broadway? Are you looking for some fantastic films? Well, head down to the Broadway Theater because the 16th annual Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival gets underway on Friday. The founder of this festival, John Allison, with us today. So for people who haven't been before, how do you describe your festival?
So we're basically a genre festival, but what that means is sci-fi, martial arts, action movies, cult movies, B movies, weird movies, strange, like just something that puts it a little bit different than Cineplex. movies and stuff like that. And it's a lot of independent and international film.
Now, I know that one of those people who's, one of the great names in independent and the films you're showcasing is Lloyd Kaufman, filmmaker and the creator of, co-founder of Troma Entertainment. He's coming here.
Yeah, this is, I would say, like, we had Joe Dante out of, like, on our 10th anniversary. This year we want to do something special and so, yeah, we're bringing in Lloyd Kaufman. He's a legend in the industry. He's in so many movies in little bit parts and stuff like that, and what he's managed to create, like, is amazing. And
how do people get more information, or where do you get those passes?
Sure, all the information's on the Broadway Theater website. Also, skfilmfest.com is our website. We have more information than actually the Broadway does and stuff like that, about attending and all that kind of things and stuff. Yeah, and it's just a total blast. Like, we have a whole week and a couple days of movies, entertainment, all kinds of stuff. Special guests. We're doing a ton of Q&As via Zoom this year too. So we have a whole bunch of movies right about to announce that have that Zoom Q&A coming in.
All right, that is great. So once again, the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival, the 16th edition, gets underway on Friday. Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you.
All right, time for Pick of the Day. What did you pick today?
Well, we're going to start off with one from one of our former colleagues, Doug Podluck. He often sends us pictures of the firmament and its many things there. And Doug says, here's a picture of Jupiter and Saturn taken at Cranberry Flats. Jupiter is the bright star, and Saturn is to the left. The star at the bottom right of the picture is Fomalhaut. I had to look that up, and I had to look up the pronunciation. So thank you, Doug. It's always a learning experience, and we love these night shots. So, yeah, he said it was about a 13 or 15 second exposure to get these images. So really nice shot there. So thank you, Douglas. And also from Sella, the new fall of snow beautifully enhanced my yard display. Yes, it's quite the yard display indeed. And yes, the snow helps out a great deal. So thank you for sharing that with us. And finally from Joan, this is the view out my window today. I love rime frost, or is it hoarfrost? Well, in this case, Joan, because we had fog, it is rime frost or rime ice. It's a clear night, then it's hoarfrost. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful shot. So thank you for sharing that, Joan. And if you'd like to share an image with us, you can do that by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca, or you can scan the QR code on the screen and send us those images.
Still to come on CTV News, it's a wrap for the Riders. What's ahead for Corey Mace and the team? After 2.5 days of partying, today was time for the Riders to say goodbye. The team cleaned out their lockers. Donovan Mace has more on what the Riders had to say, with a lot of players set to become free agents next year, including quarterback Trevor Harris.
Players may be packing their things into garbage bags. But the way the 2025 season ended for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is anything but.
It doesn't feel like a normal garbage bag day when you get sent home early, but it definitely feels weird because you're still leaving your boys.
While still riding the high of a Grey Cup championship, this day remains bittersweet as the team's final day together draws to an end.
My kids are gonna call them uncle. Like these are friends for a lifetime. You know, and I'm happy that we got to accomplish something.
I do. I want to be back. I want to do it again. Love you guys. Love coming to work. Love seeing you guys.
The biggest question remains the future of a 39-year-old quarterback fresh off a Grey Cup MVP performance.
I don't think this will take long. The only thing that I try and maintain is that if I do come back, that the same exact drive, the same exact motivation, the same exact work ethic, if not more, will be there.
Any time that he may need to make that decision for himself and his family. I think everybody understands the kind of sacrifice it is for anybody to go on a journey like this as a football player, to be the quarterback of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Harris, not the only player contemplating what is next.
You never know if you're going to be back. You never know with some family stuff and other decisions. You never know with where the team's at. There's a million things that go into it, and I just haven't got to speak to really anyone.
It's been, my goal is to always, play at least a decade here and win a Grey Cup. And, time flies. I mean, I'm 36 right now. I'll be 37 next September. So, I feel great body-wise. guys, like I feel like I could keep playing.
Riders GM Jeremy O'Day is expected to speak with media next week as the team looks towards the off-season with hopes of keeping the cup in Saskatchewan. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
When we come back, further analyzing the Riders' successful season and what's to come, and later celebrating the Grey Cup through art.
Welcome back. Time for the rural forecast as we roll into Thursday. And as you can see, a number of places are still on the plus side. And even if you're on the minus side of the thermometer, it's likely you're above seasonal temperatures. That's certainly true of Meadow Lake, -3 tomorrow for a high, -1 in Lloydminster, -2 in Spiritwood. But on the plus side for Kindersley, Outlook, Watrous, Melford at -3, -1, and Hudson Bay 1 on the plus side for Wynyard under sunny skies. And then down south, well, look at this. 8 degrees in Maple Creek, 6 in Assiniboia and Coronach. And then as we make our way towards the eastern side of the province, temperatures around 4 degrees for Lumsden, Pilot Butte, Broadview, Carlisle, 1 in Kenora. And, man, not too bad at all. Let's take a quick look at what's going on in Cutknife. And the answer is mainly sunny skies, 0 degrees tomorrow, not much in the way of wind. And one more local announcement. On Sunday, December 7th at the Cutknife Theatre, it's going to be the 3rd annual Community Christmas in the Country event. It'll take you back to the old-time carol festivals, and so you can check that out on December the 7th at 2 o'clock in Cutknife. And Cutknife is, of course, one of the places where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
And welcome to a championship edition of X's and O's with Wes Cates. Wes, the Riders winning their 5th title in franchise history. And there were a lot of big plays that led to that victory, more so the big one, the Shea Patterson fumble led by Tavon Campbell, knocking the ball out. Marcus Sales recovering it on the goal line. That really was the turning point in this game. But in general, how did the Riders win this game in your mind?
You know, I think they kind of had a good game plan, kind of stuck to what was working. I think they got the offensive line and A.J. Ouellette involved early. They really didn't go down the field with the passing game. They really dinked and dunked and screen game. You know, Montreal, they get them running around, get them chasing, and then once, you know, they kind of established the run, then I think they went to the air and kind of let Trevor Harris do his thing. And I was hoping they kind of went with that approach because the run game has been going well. And I also wanted to see Trevor be able to put his stamp on it.
Now, something you mentioned was having 4 Americans on the offensive line. Logan Ferland was the only Canadian. They're allowed to do that because they had 4 starting Canadian receivers. A.J. Allen as a ratio breaker at linebacker and Tavon Campbell in the secondary. They only needed 1 more Canadian, which ended up in Ferland. And you could see the difference. The holes that A.J. Ouellette was seeing, there were some massive holes against a pretty good Montreal Alouette defense. And you're saying you're kind of surprised maybe could that be a trend now? Maybe that look for the Canadian receivers and try to boost up that offensive line?
Well, I definitely think that there's a trick between getting Americans up here at all positions, but definitely at O-line. You know, it's hard to teach size. So I think that Jeremy O'Day has done a great job of enticing American O-linemen to come up here that are quality linemen. Obviously, if you can find great Canadians at the O-line, which they're out there, but they're a little more few and far between. Ferland is you know, diamond in the rough. And I think him being at that center spot and then being able to lean on those American O-linemen that have kind of done more of that ground and pound that you get from the States definitely help with the run game. And then obviously the fact that we have those Canadian receivers that are all studs and capable of playing at a high level.
Yeah, and you got to give it to Jeremy O'Day. He was on a hot seat a couple of years ago, but you look at all the Canadians that they had out there. Samuel Emilish, draft pick. Keen Schaefer-Baker, draft pick. Ajoajo, draft pick. A.J. Allen, ratio breaker, a draft pick. And Tavon Campbell, I know he was a free agent, but he wasn't on a lot of radars. Nobody was thinking about that move, and then he pulled that off and was able to get an experienced corner. So you got to give him credit. So he did a fantastic job this year. But what is he looking at next year now? Because now that the parade's over, it's thinking next year and how they try to repeat.
Well, yeah, it's tough. I mean, because when you're a championship team, everybody's had a great season. So really, everybody deserves a little bump in the money, but that's not really going to happen. I think that you're obviously looking at that receiving core. You have a lot of guys that contributed that are now going to be free agents. You know, you think of Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers. They're both free agents. So are we going to be able to get one or two of those guys back? I think Sam Emilus and Schaefer Baker are also free agents. So, I mean, obviously, I think Sam Emilus is your top priority at that position. And then there's going to be some other spots along the line. I think first and foremost, though, Lee, we got to get Trevor Harris to either pee or get off the pot. Like, do you want to come back or don't you? So we can kind of build around you, right? I think he's coming back too. But I'm just saying, just make it known so that we can get to work and try to build another team around you. Maybe if you want to bring up a pay cut.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trevor,
bring in some more.
After a performance like that, over 80% completion, you got to think Trevor Harris is going to think, if his family's in, let's do another ride. And if he can just keep going a little bit longer until maybe Curtis Rourke is ready to come back from the NFL, the Riders might be set for quarterback for a while. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, great season. This is your first championship X's and O's we did. So congrats to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and we'll see you next season on another edition of X's and O's.
The provincial government is reminding residents about the rules around harvesting trees in provincial forests. It comes as 3 Prince Albert area men learned the hard way, netting more than $8,000 in fines. In 2022, a conservation officer noticed a truck carrying a load of birch near Prince Albert National Park and pulled it over. The driver didn't have the required shipping and receiving reports, and the receiver didn't have a permit to harvest the birch. The officer went to the harvesting location and found a third person in the process of loading more birch. The wood was seized and the 3 men were charged. In April, they pleaded guilty to offenses under the Forest Resources Management Act and were fined $8,229. And the province says resource laws are in place to ensure forest sustainability for future generations, and the duties paid ensure the people of Saskatchewan receive a fair return for public resources. NVIDIA is the biggest of the big tech companies, so when it reports earnings, investors pay close attention. Morella Fernandez reports.
NVIDIA reported results for its third quarter, reporting revenue of $57 billion, easily beating expectations. That's a 62% increase from revenue in the same period last year. The solid report expected to revive confidence in technology stocks, which have been dragged down by nervous investors. They worry about how the billions of dollars being spent on AI infrastructure will turn into revenue. NVIDIA's report pushed its share price up in after-hours trading. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 71.13. West Texas Intermediate crude is down $1.42 to 59.25. Western Canadian Select is up to 48.05, and the TSX gained 241 points today, ending the day at 30,278. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Coming up, a reflection of the Riders' win through art. Then why the Riders' victory wasn't the only big win for one fan.
Select Hair Service is brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
A Saskatchewan artist is sharing in the celebration of the Riders' Grey Cup win. Chris Chippick created this piece of artwork featuring the Grey Cup with a feather, a sun, and a bison. Chippick, who is from the Red Pheasant Cree Nation and is now living in Saskatoon, says this piece is a celebration bringing everything full circle, appreciating that we all celebrate the victory as a province. He says art is a story, and even when capturing moments of being still, the story can be recaptured in moving parts, whether it's AJ moving through the defense like a bison or highlighting the feather in the Grey Cup. Chippick will be the artist in residence at Wanuskewin Heritage Park starting January 12th to February 6th, where the public can visit him in studio as he works on an exhibition for Wanuskewin. So it's a nice keepsake.
Very much so. I suspect they'll be making prints. I hope they'll be making prints.
So I know a lot of people on social media have been asking for that.
There you go.
So, well, if the Grey Cup championship wasn't enough for one Riders fan from Saskatoon, he got a special call from the head coach himself that made him $1 million richer.
This is not a joke, buddy.
This is not a joke.
You're our 50-50 winner.
You won the 50-50, my man. Let's freaking go.
Yeah, you did.
Let's go, Wayne! 1 million, baby!
Wade Gasmo of Saskatoon couldn't believe his ears when Coach Mace told him he was the Grey Cup 50-50 jackpot winner, taking home $1,2553. The Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation's Grey Cup 50-50 jackpot was the largest total in CFL history. Mace joked with Gasmo, saying this meant he needed to buy season tickets for the next few years. Fair enough.
For a lifetime, maybe.
Right?
There you go.
Good thing he picked up.
Yes. No, that is a wonderful call to get, no question about it. We're going to call up some numbers here and just to let you know that we've got ourselves a day that's sort of returning to cooler than seasonal temperatures. Well, it's cooler than seasonal, but seasonal temperatures, you can see, getting up to -2 or -3 in there, or -1 in the afternoon. But, you know,
there's sun. There's that.
There's that.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.